Have you ever wondered why it feels like, no matter how much you give, no matter how perfect things seem, women still find reasons to walk away? It's a truth most men don't want to face. But it's one you need to understand if you ever want to stop the cycle of confusion and heartbreak. Here's the catch. It's not just about her reasons, it's about something much deeper. Think of it this way. Life isn't about controlling the storm. It's about learning how to stand firm when it hits. Relationships are no different. It's not about forcing someone to stay. It's about understanding the dynamics at play and mastering your own emotional stability. This mindset changes everything. In this video, we're going to unravel the mystery. We'll break down why women leave, the patterns they follow, and how you, as a man, can rise above it all, not bitter, but better. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand why it happens. You'll learn how to use this knowledge to protect your peace, grow stronger, and create the life and relationships you truly deserve. Let's dive in. Number 1. She feels bored in the relationship. Have you ever had a woman say, "It's not you, I just feel like something's missing"? Or worse, she starts pulling away, seemingly out of nowhere, leaving you confused and blindsided. Here's the hard truth. It wasn't out of nowhere. For her, the emotional spark had been fading long before she decided to leave. Women don't leave because you're a bad person or because you didn't try. Often they leave because they feel emotionally stagnant. Women thrive on emotional highs and connection. They want to feel alive. And when the relationship falls into a routine, when the same conversations, patterns, and behaviors repeat day in and day out, she starts to feel trapped in monotony. That's when the words, "I'm bored," or "I need space," surface. Here's an example. Imagine a couple who started out with an electric connection. Dates were spontaneous, conversations were deep, and he seemed passionate about his work and life. But over time, his ambition waned. He came home, complained about the same things, binge-watched TV, and stopped planning anything adventurous. She didn't just lose excitement in the relationship. She began to lose respect for him because he no longer seemed like the driven man she fell for. The relationship became predictable, and with predictability, her interest faded. This is where Stoicism offers a powerful insight. A Stoic man understands that external validation, including a woman's approval, should never define his sense of self-worth. He knows the only constant in life is change, and he builds himself to thrive regardless of others' opinions or actions. When a man clings to his partner for emotional fulfillment, he risks losing himself, and eventually he loses her too. Now, don't misunderstand. This isn't about becoming a showman to keep her entertained. You don't need to juggle flaming swords or plan elaborate surprises every week. What you need is to cultivate a dynamic, fulfilling life for yourself. Ask yourself, when was the last time you challenged yourself or stepped out of your comfort zone? A man with a mission is never boring. His energy naturally draws people in, not because he's trying to impress, but because he's living authentically. For example, if you've always wanted to try rock climbing, learn a new language, or start a business, do it. Not for her approval, but because it enriches your life. When you're genuinely passionate and growing, you bring that vitality into the relationship. Here's another Stoic truth. You're not responsible for someone else's happiness. Even if you're living a fulfilling, exciting life, she might still choose to leave. And that's okay. As a Stoic, you understand that people are free to make their own choices, and those choices don't diminish your worth. In fact, when you remain steady and focused on your path, You show that you're not easily swayed by external circumstances. That resilience is magnetic. In the words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, how long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? Don't wait for her to lose interest before you start living boldly. The relationship might thrive as a result, or it might not. Either way, you'll have something even more important: your self-respect. So the next time you feel the spark fading, don't ask how you can keep her interested. Ask how you can become the kind of man you'd admire. That's where true fulfillment and unshakable confidence comes from. Number 2. How routine slowly kills attraction. Have you ever wondered why she seemed so into you at the beginning, but gradually started pulling away? It's easy to blame her, to think she just changed. But the truth might be harder to swallow. It could be that you stopped being the man she was drawn to in the first place. And the silent killer behind it: routine. Routine doesn't just dull your life, it suffocates the spark that drew her to you. At first, everything feels electric. You're unpredictable, ambitious, and full of life. But as time goes on, it's easy to fall into a rhythm. The same conversations, the same dates, the same routine. Slowly, the edge that made you captivating begins to fade. Let's say you're dating someone who initially admired your passion for fitness. You were disciplined, constantly pushing your limits, and your confidence radiated. Over time, though, you got comfortable, skipped the gym here and there, stopped setting goals. Maybe you didn't notice, but she did. To her, it signaled stagnation, and that spark she felt, it started to dim. Why does this happen? Attraction is tied to admiration, and admiration stems from growth. If you're not evolving, you risk becoming predictable, even boring. As harsh as it sounds, women are drawn to men who inspire them, who challenge them, and who are constantly striving for more. Not for others, but for themselves. This is where Stoicism offers a profound insight. The Stoics believed in relentless self-improvement, not for external validation, but because it's the path to a fulfilling life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Growth is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong pursuit. So, how do you prevent routine from killing attraction? You focus on growth. Not just externally, like career success or fitness, but internally. Your mindset, your emotional resilience, your ability to stay calm and grounded in life's challenges. Here's how you can start today. Focus on setting new goals that reignite your passion and purpose. Whether it's learning a new skill, taking on a fitness challenge, or pursuing a long-held dream, show her, and more importantly, yourself, that you're a man who is always striving for more. Growth is not just attractive, it's essential. Break the monotony by introducing unpredictability into your relationship. Plan a surprise date. Try an activity you've never done together, or simply change up your routine. When you keep things dynamic, you breathe new life into your connection, reminding her of the excitement she felt at the beginning. Women don't leave because they want someone else. They leave because they stop seeing the qualities that once captivated them. Be the man who refuses to stay the same. Challenge yourself, evolve, and let her see the fire that never goes out. Routine is a sneaky adversary, isn't it? But here's the thing. It's not the end of the story. The power to break free and reignite that spark lies entirely in your hands. So let's make this interactive. What's one way you've challenged yourself recently to break out of a routine? Or, if you're ready to start today, type this below. I commit to growth. Let's inspire each other in the comments. Number 3. Why women always wonder if they can do better. Do you think the woman in your life has ever asked herself if she could do better? The honest answer is probably yes. And before you let that thought spiral into insecurity, let me explain. It's not personal. It's biology. Women are naturally driven by a subconscious instinct called hypergamy. It's the evolutionary impulse to seek the best possible partner for their survival, stability, and fulfillment. This doesn't mean she's actively looking for someone else or that she doesn't value you. It's more subtle than that. Hypergamy nudges her to occasionally evaluate if the relationship she's in aligns with her long-term needs. And here's the kicker. It's not just women. We all do this in some area of our lives. Whether it's comparing job offers, weighing financial decisions, or wondering if the grass is greener elsewhere. Think about it. How often have you looked at your career and thought, am I maximizing my potential? Or considered moving to a new city for better opportunities? Relationships are no different. The difference is that this instinct in women is often tied to emotions, stability, and attraction, which can feel deeply personal to men. Let me share a story. James was in a long-term relationship with Emma. He was loyal, kind, and did everything he could to make her happy. But over time, Emma started to pull away. She became distant, less engaged, and hesitant about making long-term plans. James felt like he wasn't enough, and it crushed him. What he didn't realize was that Emma wasn't leaving because he was a bad partner. She was leaving because she felt stagnant in the relationship. Her hypergamic instinct whispered, "Is this the best you can do?" And James, while loving, wasn't growing or challenging himself. That lack of ambition and dynamism subtly eroded her attraction. Now, here's where Stoicism comes into play. The Stoics teach us not to resent the natural order of things, but to understand it and focus on what's within our control. Epictetus said, "We are disturbed not by events, but by our interpretation of them." The fact that women occasionally wonder if they can do better isn't something you can change. What you can change is how you respond. Instead of seeing it as a threat, see it as a challenge, a call to rise higher, not for her approval, but for your own growth. The key isn't to cling to her or try to convince her that you're enough. That reeks of desperation and insecurity. Instead, focus on becoming a man who's constantly improving. Not because you fear losing her, but because you're committed to your own evolution. When you grow, whether it's in your career, your health, or your mindset, you naturally exude the kind of confidence and presence that silences those hypergamic whispers. The truth is, women wondering if they can do better doesn't mean they're ready to leave. It means they're wired to seek alignment with a partner who matches their vision of the future. And the best way to address this isn't through fear or appeasement. It's through strength, growth, and self-respect. Here's the Stoic lesson. Don't take her instincts personally. They're not a reflection of your worth. They're a reflection of human nature. Use them as motivation to become the best version of yourself. Not for her approval, but for your own fulfillment. When you're grounded, confident, and always striving for more, you naturally become the kind of man who doesn't need to prove his value. It's simply who you are. So, if you ever find yourself worrying about whether she's questioning the relationship, ask yourself, am I living up to my own potential? That's the question that truly matters. Focus on your growth, and the rest will take care of itself. Number 4. Forget the myth of unconditional love. We've all heard the romanticized ideal that love should be unconditional, that it's a fairy tale where, no matter what happens, love will endure. But the truth? Love is rarely, if ever, unconditional. It often depends on how well you meet each other's emotional, physical, and mental needs. And when those needs are consistently unmet, even the strongest feelings can wither away. Let me ask you this. How many times have you seen a relationship that seemed perfect from the outside suddenly fall apart? Perhaps she started pulling away, became distant, or even left without much explanation. It leaves you reeling, asking yourself, what did I do wrong? The hard truth is, sometimes it's not just about what you did, it's about what you consistently didn't do. Women don't leave for surface-level reasons, like a single argument or a bad day. They leave because of an accumulation of unmet needs. She may feel unheard, unappreciated, or even unsafe emotionally. While she might not articulate it clearly, the reasons are often deep-rooted: a lack of connection, a failure to grow together, or an erosion of respect. For example, imagine this scenario. You've been in a relationship for a year. Over time, you've become less attentive. You assume she knows how you feel, so you stop expressing it. You shrug off her concerns, thinking they're not a big deal. Slowly, resentment builds. To you, everything might feel fine, but to her, it's a pattern of neglect. Eventually, she begins to distance herself emotionally before walking away altogether. Here's the kicker. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about understanding the dynamics at play so you can do better for yourself and your future relationships. As Stoicism teaches, respect yourself first. No one else can do that for you. Before you can show up for someone else, you need to show up for yourself. Ask yourself, do you hold yourself accountable for your actions? Do you strive to grow emotionally and intellectually? A woman who feels you're stagnant, complacent, or indifferent will find it hard to stay connected. When women find reasons to leave, it's often because they've reached a point where they no longer feel valued or connected. But here's where Stoicism can be your greatest ally. By focusing on what you can control, your actions, your words, and your growth, you create a foundation where love has the chance to thrive. Not through guarantees or fairy tales, but through mutual respect and effort. So forget the myth of unconditional love. Instead, embrace the idea that love, like anything else worth having, requires continuous effort and care. Respect yourself, respect her, and understand that sometimes letting go is also an act of love, both for her and for your own growth. What about you? Do you believe love should be unconditional? Or do you see value in approaching relationships with the awareness that effort and mutual growth are key? Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences and insights. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who might benefit from these insights. Let's keep this conversation going. Number 5. The truth about special girls. Many women believe they're different, unique in their approach to love and relationships, and to some extent, they are. But when it comes to attraction, emotional fulfillment, and connection, certain truths apply universally. One of these truths is that women need to feel secure, respected, and deeply seen. When that isn't there, or when it fades, they'll find reasons to leave. They'll say, "It's not you, it's me," or "I need space." But the truth is, they've already decided you're not meeting those needs. Here's an example. Imagine a man who showers a woman with constant affection and attention. At first, she adores it. She feels special, desired. But over time, that same affection begins to feel overwhelming, even suffocating. Why? Because in his eagerness to please, the man neglected himself. He became too available, too predictable, and ultimately less attractive. She starts to think, if he values me so much, does he even value himself? And once that thought takes root, it's hard to recover. This is where an overlooked Stoic principle becomes essential: the discipline of action. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In relationships, this means staying true to your values, keeping commitments to yourself, and living in alignment with the man you aspire to be. Women leave when they sense inconsistency, when your actions no longer align with the strong, driven man they were first drawn to. Here's how this might play out. 1. You stopped being proactive. In the early stages, you pursued her with purpose, planned dates, set goals, and showed her that you were a man with a vision. Over time, though, that drive faded, and she began to feel like she was carrying the relationship. No woman wants to feel like she's dragging someone toward success. 2. You became reactive instead of intentional. When challenges arose, instead of acting with clarity and confidence, you started overthinking her every move. If she seemed distant, you panicked. If she was upset, you lost your composure. Women crave the stability of a man who takes decisive, grounded actions instead of being swayed by every passing emotion. The way forward is simple, but not easy. Recommit to action. Ask yourself, what kind of man do I want to be? Then take deliberate steps every day to live as that man. Whether it's sticking to your workout routine, dedicating time to your career, or maintaining friendships, these actions signal to her and to yourself that you're grounded in who you are. Imagine this scenario. Instead of panicking when she starts to pull away, you take time to reflect. You ask yourself, have I been consistent in my actions and values? If the answer is no, you don't beg or plead for her to stay. You recalibrate. You take actionable steps to restore your sense of purpose, not for her, but for yourself. And in doing so, you become the kind of man who commands respect and admiration, whether she stays or not. So the next time you find yourself asking, why did she leave? Pause. Look inward. Are your actions aligned with the kind of man you aspire to be? If not, take steps to change. Not for her approval, but because you deserve to live a life true to yourself. And when you live with purpose, the right people will always want to stay. If you've made it this far, take a moment to reflect. Think about the patterns we've discussed and how they might resonate in your own experiences. Have you ever found yourself losing touch with your sense of purpose or allowing your actions to drift away from your values? This is your chance to recalibrate. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective could inspire someone else. Or, if you're not sure what to say, simply type, I am becoming the man I aspire to be. Let this be your first step toward living with intention and alignment. Number 6, stop trying to make her happy all the time. Let me hit you with a hard truth. Trying to make her happy every waking moment is one of the biggest mistakes a man can make in a relationship. Sounds counterintuitive, right? You're doing everything you can, showering her with attention, bending over backward to meet her needs, sacrificing your own time, energy, and even your identity, all in the name of her happiness. But despite your efforts, she still seems distant, unfulfilled, or even annoyed. Why? Here's why. Women don't thrive in a constant state of predictable happiness. They crave emotional stimulation, growth, and experiences that keep them engaged, not the monotony of perfection. When a relationship becomes too smooth, too predictable, it risks turning into a comfort zone that feels suffocating rather than exciting. It's not because women are ungrateful or demanding, it's simply how emotional dynamics work. Take this example. Mark was the textbook nice guy. He made every decision based on what he thought would make his girlfriend happy. He skipped nights out with his friends, avoided tough conversations, and even gave up hobbies he loved just to spend more time with her. At first, she seemed appreciative, but over time, she began to lose respect for him. His constant availability and eagerness to please turned into predictability, and predictability bred boredom. Eventually, she left, saying she needed someone with more passion. Now, let's pause and bring Stoicism into this equation. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control and release attachment to what we cannot. You can't control her emotions. You can't always make her happy. And frankly, that's not your job. Your job is to show up as your authentic, grounded self and to stay true to your own values and purpose. When you're constantly chasing her happiness, you're sending an unspoken message. My worth depends on your approval. And that's the opposite of attractive. Women are drawn to men who are centered, confident, and fulfilled in their own lives, not men who put their own needs on the back burner to cater to someone else. Here's the Stoic perspective. Happiness is an inside job. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This applies to relationships, too. If you're trying to create happiness for her while neglecting your own, you're building a foundation that's unsustainable. Instead of constantly trying to please her, shift your focus. Prioritize your own growth, passions, and purpose. When you're grounded in who you are, your presence becomes magnetic. You exude a quiet confidence that doesn't need external validation. And here's the irony. The less you chase her happiness, the more she'll feel naturally drawn to you. Let's revisit Mark. After his breakup, he decided to stop basing his actions on what he thought would please women. He started going to the gym again, spent weekends hiking with his buddies, and even took up a new hobby, learning to play the guitar. The next time he started dating, something shifted. He was no longer overthinking every interaction. Instead, he showed up as himself, authentic, fulfilled, and unapologetically confident. Women noticed, and this time they stayed. So stop trying to make her happy all the time. Stop thinking her emotions are your responsibility. The more you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, the more fulfilling your relationships will be. Not because you're chasing her approval, but because you're living a life that inspires respect, admiration, and attraction. Remember, a fulfilled man is an attractive man. The question is, are you ready to step into that version of yourself? Number 7. Why every relationship has an expiration date. Here's a truth that can save you from countless sleepless nights. Every relationship has an expiration date. This doesn't just mean breakups, it means change. Relationships either end or they transform into something entirely new. A deeper bond, a friendship, or sometimes a distant memory. The idea of forever is often a romantic illusion. And that's okay. Think of the seasons. Each one is beautiful in its time, but none of them last forever. A vibrant summer always gives way to the coolness of fall. Relationships are no different. They have their seasons too. If you expect an eternal summer, you'll always be disappointed when the leaves begin to change. When a woman decides to leave, it's not always a reflection of your worth. People grow, their needs shift, and sometimes their vision for the future no longer aligns with yours. It's not about being good enough. Often, it's simply life taking its course. One of the biggest reasons women leave is emotional suffocation. When you cling to her out of fear, fear of being alone, fear of losing her love, you unknowingly create the very conditions that push her away. People crave freedom, not just physically, but emotionally. For example, imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you hold it loosely, it stays in your hand. Relationships work the same way. When you're consumed by the need to keep someone close, it signals insecurity, and over time, this can erode the attraction and connection you once had. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Instead of obsessing over why she left, focus on what you can learn from the experience. Did you grow as a person? Did you love fully without holding back? If so, you've already succeeded. When you embrace the idea that every relationship is temporary, you can show up differently. Instead of clinging to her or demanding certainty, you can fully enjoy the connection for what it is, a beautiful, fleeting season. The joy is in the present, not in the promise of forever. When you let go of the need to control the outcome, you allow the relationship to breathe. Ironically, this mindset often creates the space for deeper, more genuine connections. The next time you feel someone pulling away, remind yourself, this is not the end of you. It's simply the end of this. Focus on what you can control, your growth, your peace, your ability to give love without demanding it in return. When you live by these principles, you'll not only attract better relationships, but you'll also find freedom. Women might leave, but they'll respect you for the strength and self-respect you carry. More importantly, you'll respect yourself. As the Stoics would say, the only thing truly permanent is your character. Cultivate it wisely. And remember, the end of one relationship often makes room for a better season ahead. Now that we've explored why every relationship has its own timeline, let's take a moment to reflect. How has this perspective shifted your view on relationships and their natural cycles? Have you experienced a moment when letting go brought you unexpected peace or opened the door to something better? We'd love to hear your stories, insights, or even questions. Share them in the comments below. Or, if you're not sure what to say, simply drop this sentence. The only thing truly permanent is my character. Let's learn from one another's journeys. Number 8. Attraction is hardwired, not negotiable. Attraction is hardwired. It's not something you can negotiate. No amount of explaining, pleading, or reasoning can change her feelings. Attraction isn't logical, it's primal. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how some men seem to have women drawn to them, even though they don't try too hard? Maybe they're not the richest, the most handsome, or the smartest in the room, but they exude something that keeps women captivated. That something is confidence and mastery of their emotions. A sense of presence that makes them feel grounded and secure. Now contrast that with the man who gives too much, asks for constant reassurance, or compromises his values in the hope of keeping her around. She might appreciate the effort at first, but over time, it chips away at the dynamic that originally sparked her interest. When you compromise yourself to hold on to her, you inadvertently push her away. Suppose you've been dating someone for a few months. At first, everything feels electric. She's texting you constantly, planning dates and laughing at all your jokes. But over time, you start noticing a shift. She cancels plans more often, grows distant, and gives vague excuses like, "I just don't feel like myself anymore." You panic. You buy her gifts, plan romantic surprises, and spend every moment trying to figure out what's wrong. But the more you chase, the further she pulls away. Why? Because your anxiety and over-effort signal to her that you're no longer the confident, self-assured person she was drawn to in the beginning. This isn't about what you did wrong. It's about the energy you're projecting. Women are deeply attuned to emotional cues. When you start acting out of fear of losing her, you shift the dynamic from attraction to obligation. And obligation kills desire. Here's where Stoicism offers a lifeline. Epictetus said, "Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen." Instead of clinging to her approval, focus on being a man who is grounded in his purpose, confident in his value, and unshaken by the whims of others. When you embody these traits, you naturally create an aura of attraction, because you're no longer trying to chase it. When you start internalizing this mindset, something powerful happens. You stop trying to fix the relationship or convince her to stay. Instead, you become the kind of man she doesn't want to leave. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending not to care. It means valuing yourself enough to let go of what's not meant for you and trusting that the right connection will thrive without forcing it. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies in presence. When you're fully present, calm, self-assured, and unattached to external outcomes, you exude a magnetic energy that others can't help but notice. And that's the paradox of attraction. The less you cling, the more irresistible you become. Take a step back, center yourself, and remember this. Your value doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. It comes from within. Number 9. Navigating relationships the right way. Thriving in relationships isn't about being perfect. It's not about how much you earn, how romantic you are, or how often you text back. It's about who you are when things aren't going well. Are you the man who becomes reactive, insecure, or desperate for answers? Or are you the man who stays grounded, calm, and confident, even when the storms of doubt or distance arise? Let's say you're dating someone and things seem to be going great, until they're not. She starts pulling back, making excuses, or picking fights over things that seem trivial. Your instinct might be to chase after her, trying to prove your worth, to fix whatever you think is broken. But here's the catch. The more you chase, the less she feels the connection she's craving. Why? Because you're reacting from a place of fear, not strength. You're trying to control the outcome instead of controlling yourself. The Stoics believed that your power lies in mastering your inner world, not the external one. If you apply this to relationships, it means focusing on becoming the kind of person who is resilient, self-assured, and at peace with himself, regardless of what's happening around him. When a woman starts to find reasons to leave, it's often because she senses instability, either in herself or in you. She's looking for someone who can provide emotional security, not by clinging to her, but by showing that your sense of self doesn't waver based on her actions. This doesn't mean being cold or detached, it means being grounded. When she sees that you're unshaken by her distance or doubts, she begins to question her own withdrawal. Your steadiness invites her to stay, not out of obligation, but because she feels safe in your presence. Here's the secret. Relationships align when you focus on aligning yourself. This means taking ownership of your emotional state, your habits, and your purpose. Ask yourself, are you living a life that inspires confidence and respect? Are you working on becoming the best version of yourself, not for her, but for you? When you do this, you're not just thriving in relationships, you're thriving as a person. And that's magnetic. Let's break this down with a practical Stoic insight. When you're faced with a challenge in a relationship, resist the urge to act out of desperation or fear. Instead, pause, reflect. Ask yourself, what is within my control right now? You can't control her feelings or her decisions, but you can control your reactions, your attitude, and your actions. For instance, if she says she needs space, give it to her, not begrudgingly, but with grace. Use that time to invest in your own growth. Read that book you've been putting off, hit the gym, or reconnect with friends. When she sees you're not falling apart in her absence, it shifts the dynamic. She starts to realize that you're a man who respects himself enough not to beg for attention. And that's rare. As the Stoics remind us, a man's true power lies in staying grounded, no matter what challenges come his way. In relationships, this means being the calm within the storm, the anchor when emotions run high. Women are drawn to this strength, not because you're unfeeling, but because you're unshakable. So, the next time you find yourself wondering why she's pulling away, don't rush to fix it. Instead, fix yourself. Stay grounded. Stay present. And remember, relationships aren't about being perfect. They're about showing up as the strongest, most self-aware version of you. The rest will fall into place. And there you have it. Relationships are complex, but they don't have to be confusing if you approach them with the right mindset. We've explored some hard truths today. Why women sometimes leave, how routine kills attraction, and why becoming the best version of yourself is the ultimate key to not just thriving in relationships, but in life. If there's one takeaway from this video, it's this. Stop focusing on controlling someone else's emotions or actions. Instead, focus on mastering your own emotional stability and growth. By doing so, you create a foundation of confidence and self-respect that naturally draws others to you. The storms of life and relationships will come, but like a Stoic, you'll stand firm. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own relationships. Are you living in alignment with your values? Are you prioritizing your growth, or have you been too focused on trying to please others? Remember, it's never too late to recalibrate and start living boldly, authentically, and with purpose. If you found value in this video, make sure to give it a like to help others discover it too. Share it with someone who might need this insight. And most importantly, let's continue the conversation. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Which part of today's video resonated with you the most? How are you planning to apply these lessons in your own life?